Okay, welcome to the 8th edition, I believe, 8th episode of BnA Sports Podcast. This is kind of a fun show where I kind of talk about sports, kind of some ranking lists, have some fun on here. Not too many interesting segments recently as far as like creative. I want to get back to that. But today we have some interesting topics as far as the MLB, kind of reviewing my predictions, going forward, what are my new predictions. We have some NFL best contract values, some talks about betting values, and different NFL divisions and how they're going to be ranked. But before I talk too much about what we're going to talk about, let's just talk about the things we're going to talk about, starting with our first segment. But what is it going to be? We're about to find out. Okay, enjoy, guys. Oh, yeah, make sure to give it a like rating and share it wherever you like it if you do enjoy. Yeah, so let's start. Alright guys, welcome to the first segment, where I was right, where I was wrong. We do it every other week to start off because I'm transparent. You can see right through me. No, I don't know what that was, but I try to switch up the intro a little bit. But so where I was right, I said that the Knicks are probably going to lose out in free agency, but I said don't panic. Don't sign a Jimmy Butler. Don't sign a Kemba Walker to a really max deal, like a $35 million per year, because that's not going to help us win. I said build up a young core, build a winning culture. RJ Barrett, I said I was a little cautiously optimistic about him, but he did well in Summer League, especially going on. You can't expect this guy to do too much in the beginning. I was kind of ripping on him just a little bit, but I said it's a learning process. These are 19, 20-year-olds now. Zion Williamson just turned 19. I think he just did. But these guys are young guys. It takes them years to develop. And the Knicks are in the beginning phase. Don't rush anything. You know, we could have had the all-star free agents. We could have went that route, but they didn't want to come to us. I said, if they don't come to us, stay quiet, do a nice rebuild. And it turns out that it's going to be that way. We didn't get Russell Westbrook. I don't really want Chris Paul. We'd end up signing, a Jimmy Butler, even though we probably didn't want to go here. We wanted to go down to Miami, but we didn't get one of those guys. The Knicks they have a good future. Bobby Portis, Julius Randle, I think, is going to be a good piece. Short contracts, kind of movable at the deadline. We got Marcus Morris. That team, like maybe the Celtics or the Jazz, may want to make a move on at the trade deadline. We have assets now that we could trade. We have to develop them. We're at the beginning, and it's going to be a process, but 2021, hopefully we can land a guy like Giannis, like maybe James Harden. I don't know who's going to be available. There's just a whole, maybe Steph Curry, but a lot of guys are going to be available then, and it's going to be interesting to see if we're higher on the stage, but we have to, as Knicks fans, realize what we are and what we are not. We're not a great team right now. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing I was right about. The Houston Texans, I said, they're going to suck this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a 3-4 win team. That's what happens every single year. They're either a 10-win team, make the playoffs and lose in the first round, or they suck. And this year, I'm leaning towards they're going to suck. Bill O'Brien, he messed the whole thing up with hiring a new general manager. They're going into the season without a general manager. The whole management system for them is messed up. They're trying to be the New England Patriots, but the only team that can be the New England Patriots is the New England Patriots. We saw teams we saw Matt Patricia try it. He hasn't really done it yet. Bill O'Brien has been the most successful. We've seen different guys try to implement the Bill Belichick system. Hasn't worked out that well. Because, Bill Belichick has been there for a while. It's something that builds for years and years. You can't just come and be like, I'm this guy. You haven't won. Bill Belichick has been coaching since the 80s. You can't come and start like Doug Peterson tried. Yeah, he's been kind of successful, but you can't come in and say, I'm the guy. And you lose control of the locker room, and Texans don't have a lot of talent. Lamar Miller is your running back. DeAndre Hopkins is great, I get. Will Fuller. The secondary is putrid. The J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins. J.J. Watt has been great, but it's always an injury concern. I think this team is going to be trash. But let's move on to what I was wrong about, because I really struck out in free agency. Out of all my main guesses, I only got one right, and that was Klay Thompson, the most obvious one. I said that he'd stay with the Warriors, obviously, because he ended up doing it. That's the only guy I ended up getting right. And I thought that the relationship between the Lakers and Anthony Davis was frayed, and I didn't think it would happen. I really didn't. So I was wrong about that. NBA free agency I really struck out on, and yeah, it was putrid. It was awful. I learned, the thing about the NBA is there are a lot of different factors. The Kevin Durant injury happened, then the Kawhi Leonard won it all, and then Anthony Davis ended up going, so then Kawhi Leonard didn't want to join the Lakers, so it was a bunch of different pieces that fall, so that's what I was wrong about. Another thing I was wrong about the Braves this year. Now, I'm going to go on to it in a later segment. I said that they took a huge step back, but Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, Ronald Acuna Jr. has been developing. The pitching hasn't been great. They got Dallas Keuchel. They have some pitching struggles, but I didn't expect this team to be this good this year. And yeah, so the Atlanta Braves have been really good. I said they're going to be around 75, 76 wins, but I'm going to get that more to a later segment. But I was really wrong about so far the Minnesota Twins and the Cleveland Indians. I said Cleveland Indians, it was one of my boldest things. I screamed from the mountaintops, telling all my friends, bet this. Cleveland Indians over the Minnesota Twins. And this was the series that this was the make or break series. The Indians got within 5.5, should have been 4.5 or whatever it was. But yeah, so the Twins now are about to sweep the Cleveland Indians. I'm not gonna update it until now, but hopefully the Indians can win today. They're down 2-0 in the series, blew a lead in the first game. Thank you, Tyler Clippard, who he only let one run, even though they're already down one, let up another run. But the Cleveland Indians. They were my pick, and now they're 7.5 games behind the Twins. They still have the easiest schedule for the remainder of the year, and the Twins have the hardest schedule for the remainder of the year, and they have like the 5th hardest. So hopefully things can change. They get some pitching back. I'm still not jumping off it just yet, but yeah, that's what I've been wrong about so far. And yeah, let's move on to the second segment of the day, which I have no idea what it's gonna be, but yeah, let's get into it. Alright guys, welcome to probably my most anticipated segment of the video. So you made it to my most anticipated segment of the video. Congratulations. I don't know what you did. I don't know what I did either, but let's get into it. So in life we always try to seek value, whether it's trying to get that buy one get one free, or trying to get the best ice cream for the particular value, or seeing like, you know what, this is 32 ounces but it costs $2, but it's the 45 ounce version that costs $1.50. Like, which one, you know? I think you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. And with sports, we always try to find value with contracts, and the NFL does a pretty good job with this. With kind of the short contracts, you're kind of worth your value. So, and by the time you want a new contract, you kind of hold down, you want to readjust your value. The NFL is usually pretty good with this, but baseball, they have a long-term contract. So, you know, in 5 years, you may not be worth the value, and oops, nothing you can do about it. But yeah, so I'm going to rank my top 7 best and top 7 worst value contracts in the NFL. So let's just get into it. And if you're wondering why 7, I think 5 is a little bit too less, not enough, and then 10 is a little bit too much. But yeah, that's what I usually do. So number 1, the best value contract in the entire league, out of any team, any player, anybody, is Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's getting paid $4.5 million a year. I included some rookies on this list, as you'll see. He's getting paid $4.5 million, and really he's worth $30, but he's going to get his payday and probably next year, getting paid $40 million a year. But for now, this is the best value contract. Are you kidding me? Patrick Mahomes, everyone knows what he can do. And next, number 2 most value is probably Dak Prescott. He's getting paid $400 and change to play, and he's gotten to 2 playoffs, and he's won 2 playoff games, or 1 playoff game at least. He's won the division twice. He's had key records in QBR, and as much as you want to say about Dak Prescott, you know, he did allow the Dallas Cowboys to accumulate talent with Jalen Smith, Ezekiel Elliott. Well, Ezekiel Elliott got drafted in the same draft, but he allowed the Dallas Cowboys to, you know, move on some guys. He allowed him to get players like Amari Cooper, and allowed him to get players like, I don't know, just a bunch of players, retain a bunch of players so far, and we'll see if this changes. But for now, Dak Prescott is definitely number 2. Next, I would say, is Tom Brady. He's getting paid $20 million a year. To compare, Eli Manning's getting paid $21. Brady can still do everything. There's something to be said about leadership and having skills like that, being able to lead your team in your system, and that's going to have an immense value. He's won 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls, or went to at least, or 4 out of the last 5. I don't even know what it is now, but you know, Tom Brady is the GOAT, obviously, and you know, he's worth every single penny. If he was getting paid $35 million a year, he'd still probably be on this list. Yeah, Tom Brady is just outstanding how he does what he does. I thought he'd fall off, and he's made me some money, so I can't complain about that. Next, probably Josh Rosen. He's getting paid about the same as, It's the same as Patrick Mahomes, because they get drafted around the same spot in the draft. But, you know, Cardinals, low risk, high reward for them. The Dolphins are in a rebuild. It's going to be a very similar scenario to the Cardinals. I think Josh Rosen can do it. The offensive line is weak. Not too many wide receivers, but he's going to grow with this team. He's going to learn. Brian Flores is a defensive-minded head coach, which is a huge concern for me. But Josh Rosen, he knows how to do it now. He's up for the challenge. He's in Miami. Hopefully he's not too much of a distraction. Like how I said, he's probably going to work, and then I say all these bad things. But, I believe in Josh Rosen. I think the Giants should have picked him up, and I think this is great value for the Miami Dolphins, especially since they're only paying Ryan Fitzpatrick $5 million. It allows them to accumulate talent, kind of like the Cowboys did. They're going to be, top 5 pick for the upcoming future, and they already have talents like Christian Wilkins and Minkah Fitzpatrick to build on. Next, I would say, is Phillip Rivers, getting paid around $20 million a year next year. A top 7, 10 wide quarterback right now, according to what I think, at least. And, he's going to be a big part for the Chargers this year. The problem is, who are you going to replace him with? Kind of like Dak Prescott. He's easily replaceable, but Phillip Rivers, who are you going to put in there right now out of anybody in the league? He has an immense value for this team. Kind of struggles in fourth quarters and postseason games, but he's the best for what the Chargers need at this point. You could say him and Eli are similar values, but he's on a good team, and he is able to carry this team to a pretty good record last year. I think that they win the division this year. Next, I would say, is Andrew Luck. When he first was signed, everyone's just like, oh my God, why'd you pay him like the most? You could have gotten him like $20 million. Now guys are getting paid 35, 36. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes maybe $40 million next year. This is a great value. As much as you want to say it was bad when it was signed, the market's only going up. So guys like this who signed for 25, like Derek Carr, he's not on this list, but it seemed like bad value at the time. Andrew Luck can do everything. As much as I say that he's overrated, he's still really good. He still can put the ball on a dime. Injury concerns, yes, but he can bring a 3-13 team to 11-5. He is the reason why the Colts are successful. And his leadership, his everything, the way he conducts himself, it's definitely worth to be on this list. And finally, rounding out the list, Nick Foles, $22 million a year. This is a really good value to what the Jaguars need. They don't need a guy getting paid $30 million a year. They have a great roster. They need to maintain their guys. 4 years, $88 million, perfect. Exactly what they needed. 25 would have been too much. 20 would have been ideal. 22, just right for them. I think everyone's happy here. Nick Foles is happy to be in Jacksonville because he gets a chance to compete for Super Bowls. I think this is great value for that. So that's my best value QBs. So what are my worst value QBs? And you'll be surprised with this. So we're going to start off with number 1, Jimmy Garoppolo. And why do I say this? He's only played 10 games in his career and 2 or 3 games as a 49er. Come on, all this is potential. $27 million a year. Now, it could be really wrong, but for now, he's the worst value contract in the NFL. Him and then Alex Smith. Obviously, he's not going to play this year. If he was playing, it would probably be on my top 7 best value, but he's not playing. He's probably done for his career. This is an albatross contract. Now the Redskins are paying like $40 million for all the quarterbacks on their roster right now. So, this is a really, really bad value for the Redskins. I kind of feel bad for them. It's not really Alex Smith's fault. I think he's a good value quarterback when he's playing, but he's not playing, so I had to include him on the list. Sorry, and plus I didn't really have too many because they're usually pretty good values of quarterbacks. Number 3, I'd probably say Eli Manning because this roster is not really able to compete this year. It's not like the Chargers. They can't really compete. He's going to transition to Daniel Jones, and it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting this year. Hopefully he has a historic year, but I don't think Eli is able to carry us to a championship. I don't think he has that in his abilities anymore. So he's a bad value guy. He's not a Drew Brees from a couple years ago. He's not a Tom Brady from now, a veteran guy who can lead you to championships. So, next on this list is Ben Roethlisberger. Yes, he's getting paid $34 million a year next year because he threw the most yards last year. He had one of the best offenses, but it didn't really translate to wins. They got really unlucky last year. I get it, but $34 million, that could have been spread out to, get a new running back. Maybe they could have made a play at Melvin Gordon or something. But no, they decided to lock up Ben Roethlisberger. He has 2 more years left. Doesn't really even want to play. Ben Roethlisberger, 2 years, $34 million. One of the worst value contracts in the league. You could have spread out 3 years, paid him only $13 million, and I think you would have gotten accepted. I think that would have been really ideal. But Ben Roethlisberger, especially for his skills right now, he's old, he's slow. Just because he dove once doesn't mean he's good. Number 5 on this list is Drew Brees. He's getting paid $25 million a year next year, and I think this is his Peyton Manning year. I feel like I'm offending him. He's been probably a top 5 quarterback in the last 5 years, but we saw last year his skills decline. Can he hold on to those skills late in the season? I don't know. He doesn't really have that great wide receivers. He's a great communicator. He's a great leader, but is he going to be able to, lead this team? Not sure. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, that's all you got pretty much right now. And you tried to bring in a Des Bryant last year, but that didn't really work out. So yeah, next I would say is Matt Stafford, because the system he's playing in is not good for his skill set. He's a guy that throws 40 times a game and he does what he does. But now him and Aaron Rodgers, who also have on this list, to round out the list, him and Aaron Rodgers, they're playing styles of play that they're not accustomed to playing, and this is going to hurt them. Aaron Rodgers cannot do it anymore. I don't think his abilities have declined, and he's kind of a rugged, strict player who, he's not too much for new. He's a let's do it the way we always did, because we were successful. And they weren't successful. They clashed a lot. He thought that it was Mike McCarthy holding him back. I think he'll see that, they don't have good wide receivers, they don't have good running backs, and they're not going to be able to accumulate talent. I was going to have Russell Wilson on this, but I think he could still lift the team to better than who he is. And then Matt Stafford, I don't know. It's $27 million, so it's not that bad. That's why I have it later on this list. But it's just, I don't know what else to say. It was great when he signed it, so much potential, but Matt Patricia has him playing a way that's really uncomfortable to him, and now he's going to play in a Seahawk type system, because they have the Seahawks offensive coordinator for when they won all those Super Bowls. He's going to play the run game first type thing, and I'm not sure if he can do it, but they have the running backs at least now, but I'm not sure if they can do it. And yeah, so that rounds out my list for the worst and best NFL QB contracts. I need to get through the segment. I need to finish the segment up before I say something to completely ruin the entire segment. So let's move on to the next one. Alright guys, welcome to the next segment. So a couple months back, it was actually a couple months ago, when time flies, I'm not sure when it was, but I basically made a series of videos where I basically made the best teams based on a point system. We're going to kind of do the same thing, but for divisions. So today we're going to start off with quarterback. My criteria for each team was 1 quarterback, 2 defense, and 3 coach and general management overall. And yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. So I'm going to determine the best divisions by the same criteria using my previous ranking system, but also kind of a little bit different. So I'm going to give each quarterback a point from 1 to 32 on what they rank in the league. So we're going to start off with my number 1 ranking, because I'm not going to say each one, because I feel like that's just redundant to list everybody and be like, oh yeah, I wonder who's first, and then oh yeah, whatever. But so number 1, it turned out the best division was actually the AFC West. For quarterbacks at least. We're going to combine all the points eventually and see which one is the actual best. But the AFC West was the best team. I had Patrick Mahomes at number 1, Phillip at 8, Carr at 16, and Flacco at 26. I had Flacco at 26 because I think he's a little bit too check downy. I still think he has it in him. I just haven't seen it. Last year with the Ravens, he was kind of on and off, kind of dealing with some young rookie receivers. I think Phillip Rivers is a top 10 quarterback. I think Patrick Mahomes is number 1. And I'm kind of about Derek Carr. So he was 16, and that added up to 51 points. Number 2 on my list was the NFC South. I was really surprised. Jameis Winston kind of tugged it all the way down because I had him ranked 30. But I had Cam Newton ranked 13. He's going to have to deal with some arm issues, but I do think he's a strong quarterback. Both physically, literally, whatever you want to say. He's a good leader. He has the team fighting for him. And the Cam Newton, he's going to be under North Turner this year again, his second year. He's going to have some shoulder issues sorted out. And that dual threat is always going to be a thing. He hasn't really had that many problems with his legs, just with his upper body, and that's never really been a strong asset for him. The other quarterbacks in this division, Matt Ryan, has really flown under the radar. And Drew Brees, I still think is a top 10 quarterback. I have him at number 9, but I have Matt Ryan as a top 3 quarterback right now. Let's see what he can do. And I think this is going to be a really telltale year for Matt Ryan. Can he get over the hump? I still think Drew Brees is the top 10 quarterback. I have him at number 9. I'm not sure if he was number 9, number 3. I think he was number 9. Drew Brees probably hasn't been a top 5 quarterback. If you poll in the last 5 years of play, he's been a top 5, but I think he falls back a little bit this year. I think this is his Peyton Manning year where he falls back. Not as dramatically as Peyton Manning did, but I still think he falls back a little bit. And they go with 55 points. The AFC South is next with 57 points. Teams in the AFC South, the Texans, the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Titans. See, I got all of them. I'm proud of myself. Anyway, so Marcus Mariota, I think, is a little bit overrated, especially with his injuries, his leadership skills. Kind of a system guy. Don't really like him. But Andrew Luck, I have to respect him. He is definitely, he's definitely up there. I have him at number 7. You can argue with me. Hey, Anthony, he's not number 7. I have him at number 7 right now because of the injury concerns. Because he hasn't really done in the playoffs that much, and last year he every quarterback is accurate. I think his accuracy is overrated. If you're not accurate, I said accuracy is overrated, and people are like, oh, you're saying he's not accurate? Obviously, quarterbacks have to be accurate. There's no real quarterback in this league that's not accurate, unless you want to say like Case Keenum or something. I don't know. But yeah, so I think Andrew Luck is a little bit overrated. And then at 12, I have Deshaun Watson. He's not quite top 10 just yet, but he's getting up there. I've seen some tape of him. He's just really, really good. Just inconsistent with his mechanics sometimes, and he's just had dealing with some young quarterback vibes, and plus his injury concerns as well. So next, I have the NFC West at 64 points. Russell Wilson is definitely top 5. I have him 5, mainly because I feel like he can't quite dice defenses with his arm. His arm is insanely strong, accurate. He can do it with his legs. I just think he brings himself into trouble too much because he's so gifted, but he's still number 5. And the rest of this division, 12, Jared Goff. People have him in the late teens. I think he's just too accurate. His deep ball is too accurate for him not to be in the top 15, at least the top half of the league. And I think he's a little bit system reliant, but I think he takes a big step this year, especially since they're not going to be overly reliant on Todd Gurley. It's going to really show, and I think he's not a top 10 quarterback. He's not a top 5. He's not an elite guy, but he's getting there. Sean McVay helps him out a lot. And yeah, so that system really helps him. And rounding out the rest, 22 and 25 I have with Kyler Murray and Jimmy G. Jimmy G hasn't shown it to me. There's a lot of concerns even before he got into a rhythm. Only has played 10 games. Huge injury, one more injury, and it's just like, oh wow, this guy. Haven't seen it, but again, these guys can move up way higher. And then with 25 or 22, whatever you want to split it, I have Kyler Murray because he hasn't done anything. I think he's talented, but I'm not sure if the system works. I'm not sure whether he's going to scramble like Russell Wilson a little bit too much and get sacked a lot. I'm not sure how he deals with the big guys. You could say that with the Big 12, he had some strong guys blocking him, and he's kind of used to that, and how their offensive line was really good. But I haven't seen it yet, so I'm cautiously optimistic about Kyler Murray. Next is the NFC North, and obviously rounding it out at number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. He's had one of the most cleanest he has pretty much the cleanest pocket out of any quarterback. And he's number 1 when the pocket is clean. He has a 116 passer rating, incredible TD to interception ratio. And the only reason why he's ahead of somebody like Andrew Luck with similar injury concerns is that he's done it. He's made miraculous comebacks. He's lifted the team. Andrew Luck hasn't really done that as much. You could say, his first year went 11-5. They sucked, but he's good. But he hasn't lifted a team in the playoffs. He hasn't done much. But I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers here. It's a big year. Matt LaFleur, is this the turnaround year where we realize, he's done? Or is it a year where on one leg he's stoic and maybe he's not even injured? I'm not sure. But, rest of this division, 17, 19, and 21, kind of average quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins at 17. He's not good in big games. Mitch Trubisky at 19. He's bad when you expect him to be good, and he's good when you expect him to be bad. He's kind of like the fourth quarter conundrum. How are you good in the fourth quarter? Sometimes he overthinks things when he just rely on his instincts. Mitch is a good quarterback. And finally, 21, Matt Stafford. He's really fell a little bit because he doesn't work in this system. I'm not really judging on his talent. I'm judging his fit in this system. Not too sure. I'm so close to saying the Lions are a playoff team this year. I just don't think he's going to be that accurate when it's just like you run it on first and second and then you're supposed to throw a laser on third. I think he needs to throw it 40 times a game to be successful. But we'll see. The quarterback, the offensive coordinator he has now was the Seattle's offensive coordinator. I'm not sure if that fits, but we'll see. It's going to be really interesting with the Lions. So many interesting storylines. So they rank number 5, that division at least, rounding out at 64 points, I believe. No, 69 points. And yeah, so next division, number 6, is the NFC East as far as quarterbacks go. Again, obviously, because you've been listening. So as far as the number 1 quarterback in this division, it has to be Carson Wentz. He has all the tools to succeed. I think he takes a big step this year in leadership, and he has the tools to succeed. He has the right management. Doug Peterson really trusts him. I think that he's the next guy. You could say he's overpaid, but in a couple years, Derek Carr looked like he was overpaid, and that was $25 million. Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins, they're at $28 million contracts. It doesn't really look too much when you see Dak Prescott, who's actually number 15, getting paid that much money. Dak Prescott is definitely overrated. People either say he's great, look at his QBR, look at his this, and then when the pocket collapses, he runs into a lot of sacks. His arm angle is just, he's a good leader. He can do it, but as far as talent wise, Dak Prescott has to be an even 15. He's a definition of average. He can win a lot of games, but it has been on the back of such a young, good core of teams as far as wide receivers, as far as defensive linemen, as far as linebackers. Everything has worked for him, and once you get Amari Cooper, it's just like, oh wow, he's not a bad quarterback. He's just an average quarterback. He has Randall Cobb now. He has Jason Witten back, and we'll see this year. And then 18, I have Eli Manning. You could say what you want about him. He's a little bit below average. I'm not saying he's a top 15, top 10 quarterback, but his arm is, it's not a wet noodle. It's definitely not. He has some accuracy problems down the field. I can admit that. He didn't really work well with Odell because after so many years of your offensive line being bad, you kind of develop a little habits, kind of not throwing into the ball, things like that. But I think now he has a good offensive line. We'll see if he actually is a shot-fire quarterback or whether he can salvage something, maybe make a last-year playoff run. And then finally, the worst quarterback in this division, whoever starts for the Redskins, Alex Smith, whether he hobbles on Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, they're going to be the worst. Maybe not Case Keenum. Case Keenum will probably be like 27. But, the Case Keenum is a 50-50 TD into ratio. Dwayne Haskins hasn't played a snap yet. So whoever plays there, I think, is going to be last. And they round out 6th. And then 7th, the AFC East. You have Tom Brady, who I have it ranked number 4. Okay, I have him ranked number 4. Because it's just his leadership. It's everything. It's not quite about your skills. He's running a faster 40 than ever right now, actually. But he's never been stronger. He's never been faster. He knows how to read defenses. So that's why I have to respect him at number 4. A lot of people had him some people like Chris Sims have him at 6, 7. This is kind of like a rebuttal to his list, you can say. But I have him at 4. I think he's going down, but he can win MVP this year. He has a great offensive coach in Josh McDaniels. He's gonna not really have that many wide receiver targets. He did add Demaryius Thomas, who's gonna be your tight end, not sure. But Tom Brady he just gets it done. He just gets it done. His offense, he works well with his offensive coordinator. He's a great leader, and that has to do with it, right? It has to do, into this ranking is baked in, like, how well you work with each other, how well you understand the system, how much of a locker room presence you are with people kind of getting rejuvenated and knowing that you're going to win. Being like, it's, 2 minutes left and we're going to win no matter what. Throwing it to Julian Edelman, giving it to Sony Michel, no matter what. Staying calm with 2 minutes left. You look at the 2-minute drill, Tom Brady does it better than ever. And then you kind of have quarterbacks in this league, 23, 24, and 29, representing Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, and Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen's 29 because he's a rookie. And that's not saying how he's a 29 quarterback and he'll always be a 29 quarterback. It's saying where he is now. I have Sam Darnold over Josh Allen, mainly because I think Sam Darnold has developed more into a pocket passer. Josh Allen kind of did too much running last year. Sam Darnold did have the little injury scare. But Josh Allen, he's just hurdling guys. He's doing all these different things. He's gonna have to learn how to stay in that pocket, deliver darts, especially in Buffalo. And yeah, I think he's gonna take major strides this year. I think both of them will, and they should definitely crack the top 20 at least next year. And yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. 3 quarterbacks drafted from 2 years ago, and then old Tom Brady, who's half of his life is almost in the NFL now. And then finally, the AFC North, the worst division as far as quarterbacks go, in a whopping 83 compared to 80 from the AFC East. And they have quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger, who I don't think is quite a top 10 guy anymore. I think he may win MVP this year, but I think he's slower. I think he's more fragile. He still has a great arm. He led the league in passing yards last year, but they were down a lot in games, and they had the worst rushing offense last year, so he had to do it a lot with his arm. He had Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, the probably top 3 offensive line. And does the offensive line get worse this year? How does it happen? I think Ben is a little bit overrated when it comes to talent. I mean, he can still win the Super Bowl. I think anybody in the top 15 can be on a Super Bowl winning team. But, maybe top 20. I'm not sure exactly how it pans out. But, because Mitch Trubisky was 19 anyway. So I think Ben Roethlisberger's not quite top 10 anymore, but he's still up there. Baker Mayfield's at 14 because he needs to learn how to read defenses a little better. Needs to learn how to live for another down, that type of thing. And I think he gets to a top 15 spot this year. This is a little bit of projection too. Baker Mayfield's definitely better than Dak Prescott. Better arm, more accuracy, a little bit the equal leadership. Just sometimes he makes some dopey decisions. And then 27 and 31 represent the 2 remaining quarterbacks, Andy Dalton, Lamar Jackson. Andy Dalton can be clutch, and the team was good before he went down, but he got injured again. He's 32, I want to say 34 now or something like that. I think he's in that Joe Flacco class, which is like he's not going to be the same as we saw before. May have a star game or two where you're like, oh, he's still good, but leadership, everyone lost confidence in him. I haven't really done much work on Andy Dalton as far as watching him, but yeah, and then Lamar Jackson, I guess he fits in the system, and that's much I could say about him. I think he's Tim Tebow resurrected, a little bit more athletic, but a little bit more prone to making mistakes. Tim Tebow had a little bit more control when it came to that, and Tim Tebow had a little bit more magic. Lamar Jackson is a wannabe Tim Tebow that I don't think is going to work. I think the surrounding team is really good, so they may eke in at 8-8 or 9-7. You'd be like, oh yeah, Anthony, you were wrong, but I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to have multiple 300-yard passing games. He may have multiple 300-yard rushing games. I think that's a higher chance than 300-yard passing games. You have a young wide receiver core. You have Hayden Hurst. You have Andrews. And you have a couple other guys that they've drafted, Marquise Brown. But, yeah, this is going to be a major year for him. So, yeah, that's my rankings. I'm not sure what I'm going to do this next, but definitely do let me know what you guys think of this list. And let's move on to the next segment. Alright, welcome to this segment where I review the National League and how I've been doing and how we're going to change my predictions going forward and what I think is going to happen from now on. So let's just start with the National League East, because I had the Braves in 4th place at 74 wins. And, so this is completely wrong. I didn't think that their young core would develop with Ronald Acuna Jr. I thought Nick Markakis was getting old. I thought the combination of those two, plus the pitching, which I did address with Dallas Keuchel, wasn't going to be a recipe. I thought last year was kind of an anomaly, kind of like how the Twins were a couple years ago. So I had them at 74 wins. Now I think they're going to be towards a 94, and I think that they are going to win this division. In the beginning of the year, I said the winner of this division is going to have 90 wins, no more than 90 wins. I think the Braves will have 94 wins and win this division. I also said the Phillies would win with 90 wins, and this has been a pretty lackluster year for the Phillies. This is supposed to be the year where they come up and everything is great. But long story short, Andrew McCutchen got injured. A couple other injuries have derailed the development of this team. Aaron Nola and Jake Arrieta haven't been the pitchers that people thought. David Robertson is injured. And everything is pretty much fallen flat on its face. But they're still in it. I still think they're going to hover around 88 wins this year. I had them at 90, so that's a decrease of 2. And same thing with the Nationals. People thought they would be pretty good this year, and they start off the season completely horrible. And now my Yankees are going to get Scherzer because all of a sudden they're on like a 25-10 run or whatever it's turning out to be now. And the Nationals are going to be around 88 wins. They're going to be 3rd place. I had them in a wild card spot earlier in the year. I don't think that they will be. I think that the Phillies will get it. I think the Phillies will find a way to take the wild card spot at around 88, 89 wins. And yeah, so the Nationals will be around 86. I do think that their pitching is great, but I think they pull back towards the end of this season. And then next I have the Mets. I have a $1 bet, 150 to 1 odds for them to win the division, but I don't think this is going to happen. I had them at 82 wins earlier in the season. A couple people had them going to the World Series. Giraffe Nick Mark, a guy who I watch, had them going to the World Series. People said they'd be great. I'm like, Robinson Cano, Todd Frazier. I mean, Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil have played out of their ass, and they still haven't been able to play that good as far as record goes. As far as wins this season, I still think they're going to be in the high 70s. I think they rebounded a little bit because they did have one of the hardest schedules in the beginning of the year, and they got so many off bounces and they weren't really lucky. They blew a lot of games, and I think that the fortunes change. I think they're a 500 team for the rest of the way, so that means they'll have around like 77, 78 wins, but definitely not 82 like I predicted. And then the Marlins, they're starting to have great pitching. All the prospects are starting to come up. I don't think they should have gotten rid of players like JT Realmuto. I still think they should have kept some people around, but it is what it is. And yeah, so I have no idea who their players are, but their pitching is top 10 in the league right now as far as ERA. Their batting is awful though. Starling Castro, I feel bad for him. Curtis Granderson, he's not playing well either. But you have some young prospects that are living up, and I think that they eclipse the 60-game win mark, if that's a big deal. They're about where I thought they'd be. Let's go on to the NL Central. You have the Cardinals, Cubs, and the rest of the teams that I'll start mentioning. But the Cubs have actually been pretty good this year. They've been about what I thought they'd be, but just a little bit better. They're around 6 games above 500 right now. I said that they'd be 6 at the end of the season. So yeah, with about 70, 80 games to go, they're on pace for about 86, 87 wins. I said they'd be around 82, 83 wins. And yeah, so the Cubs, I think that they pull back towards the end of the season. I think Kyle Schwarber, he hasn't really been playing that well. Javi Baez, coming up from his runner-up MVP season, he's actually played pretty well. But I don't trust this team's pitching. Cole Hamels, Yu Darvish. I don't think that they have a deep enough pitching roster. And I think that even their bullpen is going to start killing them as when we go into the rest of the season. So I think that they pull back, and I do agree. I don't think they're going to be 4th, like I said earlier. I think they're going to be 3rd. And in first place, I'm going to have the St. Louis Cardinals. I had them at 99 wins. I'm going to pull that back to 93, but I still think that they find a way. They lost their fast-pitching reliever, Jordan Hicks. Paul Goldschmidt, my MVP pick, has gone down. As far as MVP for this season, I think it's Cody Bellinger. I think that you can't give it to Yelich twice in a row, and if it comes down to it, it might even be a split, but I don't think Yelich is going to get it, because what Cody Bellinger has been doing had actually been historic. So yeah, there's that. And the Brewers are going to be around 90 wins this season. I just think they can't figure out their starting pitching. They have a bunch of hitters that are kind of streaky, but they're hitting. Their pitching is not that good. Their relievers are pretty good, but Brewers are around 90 wins. As far as the Pirates and the Cubs, the Pirates and the Reds, I said the Pirates would only have 66 wins this season. They have surprised Jordan Bell and who else? They have Melky Cabrera. I don't even know what he's doing right now. I have no idea what's up with him. But yeah, they're playing pretty well. And the Pirates, their main problem is pitching. I didn't think it would be pitching, but it is pitching. It's just a dysfunctional club. But they win for some reason, so I think that they'll be around 74 wins. I think they pull back a little bit. And the Reds, they're gonna be a 500 team. Like I said, they'd be in the beginning of the season. Their hitting, I think, is gonna improve a little bit at the end of this year. And Sonny Gray has really been a bright spot. Matt Harvey wasn't really the bright spot that they thought he'd be, and I think he's on the Angels now. But their pitching has been great, and that's the recipe to win. You need great pitching. If your pitchers only get 1 or 2 runs, it's great. So the Reds are around 81 wins. As far as the NL West, obviously the Dodgers are going to win that one. They're going to be, I thought they'd pull back this year, honestly. I said that they're going to be around 93, because from what they showed me last season, they didn't allow me a chance to believe in them. But they're going to be a 102-win team this year. And then the Giants, I think they're going to be able to almost claw above 500. I think this is a 78-win team. They've really showed out in the beginning of the second half of the season, showing that they're not that bad of a team. Buster Posey, Tyler Crawford, they're still fighting, unless they're huge sellers at the deadline with a Madison Bumgarner. I think that they're going to be just only a couple games under 500. This division is way better than we expected. They're going to be a bunch of teams just hovering around 500, a couple games above or below. I said the Padres are going to be above a 500 team this year. They are. I said the Rockies would be a little worse because the losses of DJ LeMahieu and Troy Tulowitzki left years ago. But, I thought they'd be a worse team, especially since I couldn't figure out their starting pitching, even though I really do like them. But these teams are just going to be hovering around 500. I said the Padres would take a big step this year, and they did. Their pitching has exceeded expectations. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, I had them around 65. I think you bump that up to around 70. 78, just a little bit above the Giants, and call that a division. So yeah, those are my updated predictions with MVPs. With maybe the coach of the year, I would say it's probably going to go to maybe the Dodgers. Yeah, it's probably going to go to the Dodgers. I forget. As far as Cy Young, Max Scherzer is injured now, so I think Ryu or maybe there's a really good pitcher on the, I forget the team, but there's a really good pitcher that's doing really well this year, and I think that he can make a run for it. Just give me a second, I'll think of it, or I'll just put it on the screen, but definitely that guy. I forget his name. It's such a bad, I always forget people's names, but let's move on to the next segment. Alright guys, welcome to the next segment. This is where we're going to be basically continuing on for the next segment. I didn't really want to break it up. It's kind of awkward now because I'm just recording it right after. But yeah, so this segment is basically just reviewing and changing my American League and National League playoff predictions. And yeah, so I'm going to throw up on the screen my playoff predictions from the beginning of the season. So I had teams like the Angels making it in. I think that they could make a miraculous comeback. They're currently doing something historic. Not historic, but, with 10 games out of first place, they're playing a big series against the Astros, so if they can sweep them, that'd be great. But I don't think that the Angels were going to make the playoffs, like I said in my American League reviewed video. So, yeah, let's just look at which teams I say make the playoffs. So, eking in the wild card game are the Brewers and the Phillies. I think that the Phillies have a better chance to win this game because I think that they have the better ace. But I think that the Brewers could potentially win because they did win the one-game playoff against the Cubs last year as far as to win the division. So I definitely could see either team winning. But I do think that the winner of this game will lose to the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are just a better team. They have Ryu. They have Clayton Kershaw. They have Walker Buehler. They have the guy, whoever they want to pick, whoever's hottest, whoever they want to be their ace to win. Well, actually, no, it's not a one-game set, but they have three guys that you can just sweep easily. But I think this is like a 3-1 series. The Dodgers advance to the NLCS. Then the Braves versus the Cardinals I have for my two other division winners. I have the Cardinals winning here. I'm not too high on them as I was in the beginning of the season, but I think that the Cardinals pitching, it can't be much worse, and I think that they have better pitching, so that rebounds. I think that they've just been kind of playing like really grouchy and sluggish. They're going to be hot towards the end of the season. I think that their bats catch fire. And the Braves have just been playing so well for so long, and I think that they struggle. But I do think the Braves are a team to look out for, honestly, with this entire thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the World Series and win. But the Dodgers versus the Cardinals, I don't think the Cardinals have a shot. I have the Dodgers winning in 6 because the Dodgers will be a little bit more well-rested. Not really, but you guys get the point. They have the rotation. They have the 1-2-3 punch and all their pitchers. Clayton Kershaw, I don't think he's going to suck. The only thing that they really have to address is their relief pitching. So I think the Dodgers make it to the World Series. Who is it going to be against? Well, for my wild card game, I have the Rays versus the Twins. And I think the Rays win it because they have whoever's going to be pitching hot at the time. Blake Snell hasn't really that much, but I think Charlie Morton is going to be their guy. And they might even do like a starter or whatever and kind of pitch a guy throughout the game and have different pitchers. I don't know, but that team is definitely going to lose to the Yankees. The Rays have their number on the Yankees. If the Rays beat the Yankees, I'll be pissed. But I have the Yankees as the number 1 seed. I have them advancing in 5 games. I think it's going to be a tight one, especially if it's against the Rays. And then the Astros versus the Indians, I think that's Astros all the way. I have the Astros and Indians winning their divisions. Come on, I have to go along with my bet, right? With the Indians, that's my bold prediction of the year. They're going to come back and win that division. They're 6 games out right now, but they're going to get swept by the Astros. Because I don't think they're going to be healthy enough. And I think the Astros get healthy towards the end of the season, and they're going to be primed to make a run. And they play the Yankees, a rematch of the ALCS from 2 years ago. And I think the Yankees this time take it in 7. They win at home at Yankee Stadium. That's been a huge advantage to them over the past couple of playoffs. And I think they win, and they face the Dodgers in the World Series. It's Red Sox Dodgers, Astros Dodgers, and Yankees Dodgers. And I have to root for the Yankees, right? And I have to go with my preseason pick. Aaron Hicks is going to be the MVP. It's usually, Aaron Judge has been pretty good in the playoffs, but I think that Aaron Hicks is going to be the guy for them. Hopefully, that was my preseason prediction, so I have to stick by it, right? I can't not pick them. I don't think they acquire a pitcher at the deadline. I don't think they get a Chad Wheeler. I don't think they get a Matt Bum. I don't think they get a Matt Boyd. I don't think they get anybody like that, but I still think that they take it all because I have to go with my preseason prediction. That would be dumb if I didn't. Instead of Yankees-Cardinals, I have Yankees-Dodgers. And, yeah, I know it's the two favorites that I'm picking to make it. But, again, the Braves and the Rays are my two sleepers. So let's move on to the next segment. Alright guys, welcome to the next segment. Now yesterday I uploaded a video where I said which bets to take the over on for each team as it is presently constructed. And I teased that I was going to do a under, and this is pretty much the most overrated teams in the entire league, because that's what basically it is. If the number is 11, I think you're going to be less. That means you're overrated by Vegas, by people betting it. Maybe they push it up to a certain number. But anyway, so if you want to check out the video where I said which to take the overs on, I would recommend that video. But without further ado, let's do it. And it's kind of a ranking and kind of not. I'm just saying all these teams I would take the under on, and I'll give you kind of my confidence as we go throughout. So first of all, under, Bengals, 6. New coach, Zach Taylor. Andy Dalton, he's actually good with fourth quarter comebacks, kind of underrated in that sense, but who do you have? Joe Mixon, AJ Green, the offensive line, I don't really trust it that much. You re-signed some guys that you shouldn't have re-signed. One offensive lineman that the Giants used to have, he's on there now, and I just don't. I try to erase him from my memory because a lot of Giants offensive linemen were bad. Their secondary is decent. The linebacking core, they lost Vontaze Burfict. They may join everyone together, but they also lost Pac-Man Jones. Your pass rush, you only have one pass rusher on your entire team, so that's why I have the Bengals under on 6. I'm fairly confident, especially in this division with the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers. Next, I have the Texans. This is my most confident one, probably 8.5. I'm taking the under. Management problems, porous secondary. Deshaun Watson can't trust his health. J.J. Watt can't trust his health. Jadeveon Clowney has underperformed. What's good about this team? I don't think they're the next Patriots. People seem to think that they're the next Patriots by we're going to copy their management. Well, look at that. No general manager this year, and I think that comes back to haunt them because they don't have Bill O'Brien. I think he takes a step back this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're the number one pick next year. And so next I have the Saints. I'm fairly confident in this. They have a great roster. Drew Brees has been one of the best quarterbacks statistically over the past couple years. But they said the same thing about Peyton Manning before he fell off. I think this is Drew Brees' Peyton Manning year. They may make it to the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're winning more than 10 games this year. Their number is at 10.5. If I wasn't obvious, if I didn't say the Texans were at 8.5, the Bengals were at 6. The Saints, 10.5, easily taking the under. You have Cameron Jordan. You have a decent pass rush, but your secondary is awful. Marshawn Lattimore and Eli Apple. I mean, come on, you have to do better. They added my guy in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at safety, but I think that's a really weak position for them. Have a great pass rush, but your skills position, even with wide receiver, all you have is Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. You got rid of Mark Ingram. I don't think they have a steady guy that could just ground and pound. That may not be their part of their formula. But still, they're going to have a great offensive line, but we're going to see how much Drew Brees' arm has left this year. I'm definitely taking the under 10.5. I see them at 9 or 10 wins. The Dolphins at 5 wins, I'm taking the under. You could say they might have emotional support for the guy who lost his arm, but he wasn't really that big part of a team. Xavier Howard, they have a nice secondary. Minka Fitzpatrick, they drafted a couple years ago. Now they have Christian Wilkins. I think this team has a bright future. They're going to have a lot of young talent with all these draft picks, Josh Rosen. I think they're trending in the right direction. We'll see what Brian Flores can do as a coach, but 5 wins. You're playing the Jets, the Patriots, and the Bills. I think all these teams are going to be above 500 this year. Maybe not the Jets, but all these teams are going to be really good. And looking at their schedule, it's hard-pressed to find, wins. You have, I think the easiest team that they play is the Bengals. Well, they do play the Bengals, so one of them is going to win. The Dolphins are probably going to be the worst team this year. With their first overall pick, I think they might trade it back, and I don't think they're going to go after another quarterback this year. I'm just not of that opinion, and I think, if you're wondering, Ryan Fitzpatrick wins the starting quarterback job because even Brian Flores said, "Who is Josh Rosen?" And so that's what I have for that. Buccaneers, 6.5 wins. I'm taking the under, obviously, because this is the under list. Jameis Winston is great. Bruce Arians may work, but even if they do work, I only see a max 6 wins. Especially in this division where you have the Panthers, who I was thinking about including on this list. but I didn't. Then you have the Saints, the Falcons. Come on, this team, they don't have a running back. They lost Gerald McCoy, but you replace him with Ndamukong Suh, who's on and off. Secondary is weak. You could say we have Mike Evans. You could say we have a decent running back, the best offense in the league. The offense may win games in the first couple, games of the year, but as we go on, this team's not going to be competitive. This team should tank, maybe even draft a quarterback, replace Jameis Winston, and then Bruce Arians will probably be gone too. So this team is a mess, and I don't see how they move forward. The Rams are at 10.5, just like the Saints, and I think they take a step back. They could be even 8-8 or 7-9 this year. This is a big year for Jared Goff. I can't stress it enough. Can he throw the ball? His accuracy is so great down the field. Cooper Kupp's coming back. You have all the wide receivers. Their offense is going to be great, but their defense was ranked 22nd to 25th last year. It was an overrated defense, and you don't have Ndamukong Suh anymore. Aaron Donald's still there, I guess. Your offensive line's going to be a little weaker. This is the telltale year for Jared Goff. Is he a product of the system, or can he lift it? I think Jared Goff has learned a lot over the past 2 years with Sean McVay. They've learned from each other. They have a little bit more experience, but especially navigating the schedule. You play Seahawks twice. You play the Bears again. It's going to be really rough for them. I think they play the Cowboys too. 10.5 is just too much for me, so I'm definitely taking the under with the Rams, and plus their secondary with Marcus Peters, and I don't trust. I think they drafted a linebacker in the first round, but that's not going to do much. They have Clay Matthews, like really? That's the guy you replace him with, an old guy who's played 15 years in the league. I don't trust that. And finally, I was choosing between the Vikings and the Panthers. I think Kirk Cousins is a pretty underrated quarterback, but I'm going to have to go with the Vikings because they play 6 primetime games this year. Kirk Cousins said, you know what? I'm going to do great in primetime games. I'm going to be great this year, but can he do it? I don't know. Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs and that Kyle Rudolph, I think it's overrated. I think it's a really overrated receiving core. You still have that porous offensive line, new offensive coordinator, Mike Zimmer, with that defense. You didn't lose Anthony Barr, but you did lose one of your, I think they lost a linebacker. And I also think Xavier Rhodes is a little bit overrated as a corner. I'm not going to comment too much about their draft. Their draft was the most confusing to me. Drafted Irv Smith Jr., I think. And their draft is probably the most confusing one ever, but honestly, I'm not there. People are like, oh, why'd you pay this guy to a contract? I'm going to make a separate video about it. People are like, why did you pay this guy to a contract? He didn't really deserve it, but you don't know inside the locker room. You don't know on the plays where the quarterback didn't get him to and it cost you like 300 yards. But the team looks into this stuff. With different quarterbacks, some quarterbacks cost you a lot of yards because they're inaccurate on certain plays, but the teams know this, and yeah. So let's move on to the next segment. Again, these are the unders. Take the under on all these teams. And I warned you, don't take the over on them. Or at least push. Don't bet it. Don't bet the over, please. But anyway, let's move on to the next segment.
That is blasphemous. That is blasphemous.
Alright guys, welcome to the worst take of the week. Haven't really done this in a couple weeks. I've been on a best take streak for a couple weeks now. But we're going to rip into Colin Cowherd because he had a take on the FIFA Women's World Cup and equal pay. And rather than just explaining it, I guess I'll just let you listen to the clip.
Men generally drive the consumption of American sports, from betting to viewing to participating, blah, blah, blah. But there are these unique situations where Serena is significantly more interesting than the best American male player, and clearly the United States women's team is a juggernaut, and our men can't even make the World Cup. So that's where I'm like, then just pay them. Like overall, I think men generally earn more money because men's consumption drives the industry. But I think we do have a rare situation, do we not, with the United States women's national team where, listen, the numbers are huge.
So right here, he says that the women should be paid equally. Now, there have been plenty of arguments in different ways, and I'm of the belief that it's a business. If it's a business, makes a business decision, if they want to pay them 30, 40, 50% of the total revenue, good, then they'll go out of business. Right now they're getting paid 13% of their total revenue. The men are getting paid 7%. I get it. The men haven't had, as much success, but they're playing against better competition. And you can say the men have been a disgrace, but they are changing it a little bit. And, it's supply and demand. That's how the market works. If a team and if a player wanted to invest money into the Women's World Cup, then they do it. Like, put your money where your mouth is, but nobody is doing it. You could say, oh, invest in us, invest in this. Even Megan Rapinoe said, if you want to support us, go watch our games. Go put your money behind it. But that's the argument. Just then do it. That's it. It's over. That's done. Stop fighting for equal pay. If you want to fight for equal pay, then bring the money up. Let's say you work at like a local donut shop or a local like pizza shop, and you're only getting paid, minimum wage, like $10 an hour, or wherever it is for you. And, you say, hey, I want to get paid more. But the guy is just like, no, you can't. Like, why can't I get paid more than people at Amazon? They get paid $25 million. Well, first of all, it's a higher skill. It's not as much competition. You're grandfathered in. I'm your, it's a family pizzeria business. I don't owe you anything. And then, the Amazon has been there, or a company, Home Depot, have been there for years and years. Women's World Cup has been there for 100 fewer years than the men's, World Cup national team. With time, eventually, I think we'll even out a little bit, like general wage gaps and payments have. They weren't getting paid at the time as much as men were because there was a stigma. They can't do the same work. They have to take maternity leave. They have to take care of the kids. They didn't have to put as much hours. Equal pay for equal work now, and women are probably better than guys, and they're getting paid equal as guys. And eventually women might get paid more than guys because they realize that women are, just better. This equal pay stuff, it's just all about entitlement. People feel like they deserve stuff. They feel like they're right. Megan Rapinoe, they say that, she's a warrior. She's LeBron. Stop. People like to pretend like they're the victim. Everything's against them. I never knew what the USWL or whatever the women's soccer league is called until they mentioned it. And I'm not going to put my money behind it. If you want to, that's great. Expand the sport. I'm all for that. But put your money where your mouth is. You can't start complaining about, they don't get paid enough money and then not support them. And Megan Rapinoe was right. That's it. If you want to support us, pay our money, buy shirts and different things like that, and then we'll get paid equal. It's not this everything is against us and everything like that. And he also brings up the point that Trump and you can't like Trump and then hate Megan Rapinoe. I'm a Trump supporter. I don't like some of the things that come with him I don't like, but that makes him who he is. I bet you everybody in the world, you can point out one thing that you don't like about them or a bunch of things you don't like about them. You may hate somebody, or even though you love somebody, there are some irredeemable qualities about some people. That's what makes us humans. But he says that you can't love Donald Trump and then go on and hate Megan Rapinoe, and then he starts comparing soccer and politics. So you're comparing the well-being of millions of people to people watching soccer game? These analogies are getting ridiculous. He comes up with these stupid analogies about relationships and sports and having kids and sport. Some of them work. Some of them do work, but this one is ridiculous. He compares, I'll play the clip now.
And I kind of think, you can't tell me you like Trump because globally he gets a ton of pushback representing America, and then tell me you hate the soccer team even though they win because they land wrong for America. You either like our bravado and understand it, or you don't like it. And if you fall on don't like Trump and don't like the U.S. World Cup team, I'm good. But I think it's an illustration of people's personal politics. If you love the women's world team, hate Trump, or vice versa.
Women's soccer is not at the highest elevation as politics. Trump is doing it to better America. Megan Rapinoe is doing it, playing soccer so she has fun. Trump is not doing this for himself. He's doing it for America. You could say he is damaging the image of America, and you could say Megan Rapinoe is damaging the image of America. But Donald, it's totally different because his job is to, first and foremost, help the American economy, help our well-being. If it comes at the sacrifice of, his current moral, our moral current high ground, it doesn't matter. Megan Rapinoe is playing a soccer game. Okay, this is not a hoopla, and then she's trying to make it a big deal by kneeling with the flag. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? The America has afforded you the opportunity. Now I understand. We have some flaws. We're not great. It's not. We're not a total American society. And she's using the platform that we gave her. But this is not the place to do it. You're just making us look bad on the world stage. It's kind of like if Trump said on the world stage, you know what? America is not that great. We have some problems that we want to fix. No, he's trying to help our fiscal policy, our standing in the world, and I think it's gone up. Our Dow Jones is at 27,000%. This is not a political argument, but I'm saying Trump does it to help America. He at the end of the day, I'm not sure if Megan Rapinoe is helping America. She's hurting our image on the world stage. I think I'm tiptoeing a boundary, and I'm not sure if I'm crossing it, but let's just move on to the next segment. Alright, and welcome to my Spicy Tostitos hot take of the week. Now, this is a series where I get a hot take. Some of them are not too hot takes, but I just get really emotional sometimes, and I really don't understand why people want to change this home plate rule. It was one injury, it rarely happens, and all of a sudden you want to change one thing because of one guy ran into one player, and all of a sudden this is a bad rule. It's not a bad rule. If you have the ball, you're allowed to protect the plate, and if you don't have the ball, you're not allowed to protect the plate. And there's that. It's it. This happens. It's just a natural occurring thing in baseball. It sucks. It was a dumb decision by the runner. I don't care what you say, inside, outside. If the catcher has the ball, he's allowed to block the plate. Don't try to overcomplicate things with lanes and automatic tags, like infield fly rule type thing. Infield fly rule was a legitimate mistake, problem, because people just let it drop and then do a double play, whatever it was. So, because they want one runner to be on base and one runner to not. If the guy hit a fly ball, you know he's a juge, and you know the guy in first was really fast, you'd let the ball drop, throw him out at second, and all of a sudden, you had one out and you had the guy you want on. And in different strategy like that, baseball shouldn't eliminate it. With shifts, easy. How you change it? Say you can't have 4 people on one side of the base, on one side of the field. You regulate it just a little bit. Don't make it overly complicated. Don't say no shifts whatsoever, because what does that mean? The more rules you start trying to add to the game, the more archaic it gets, the more weird it gets. Don't eliminate the shifts, because that's an element of the game. People will find those strategies, and that's good for baseball. It's a lot more home runs. It's increased the popularity of baseball. Just say, if you're a third baseman, you have to stay on this one side of the field. Or, there are plenty of different ideas, but don't eliminate the shift. It's a strategy part of the game. The home field rule, the home plate rule, it's perfectly fine. The way it is, it's simple, and there's nothing confusing about it. 5 Points Vids made a video about it, and he starts saying, they should create a running lane if the catcher has it, and the jukes shouldn't be a thing. Jukes are what makes the game important. That's what strategy is. Instead of tagging me, I can buy time, and instead of running towards first base, if I know I'm going to be tagged, I can run back. I can try to avoid the tag. This is not a robotic game. There has to be some strategy involved, some common sense. I know those baseball compilation, baseball IQ plays. You have to add more of that. And baseball is moving more towards stats, more towards analytics, and the players are going to regulate it, I think. So if the shift is going one way, just bunt it the other way, and eventually, they'll shift back. And that's how you fix it. Have those players start bunting it the other way. And it's a really fun thing. I don't think it's ruining baseball whatsoever. And the home plate rule, again, it's perfect the way I thought it was a perfect solution. And one mistake happens, and all of a sudden the rule is broken. All of a sudden it's just this is the worst rule to ever exist. It has so many flaws in it. There's no such thing as a perfect solution to a problem. There's always going to be the human element to the game. There's always going to be the thing that you don't expect, and that one accident to happen. Don't overreact to the rules. Kind of like what I've been saying about the pass interference rule. I think it's long overdue. With the pass interference rule, it's not holding. I know you can say, well, where does it end? Now you're going to start adding holding and stuff like that. With NBA challenges, that's needed. Because James Harden doesn't do that play all the time. So it's not in the ref's hands. It adds strategy to the game. Anything that adds strategy to the game, I'm all for it. This is just, you're automatically out just because you want to prevent an injury or two that happens really on the odd side. With football, you want to eliminate, because CTE is a widespread issue. Players were getting injured, and you're still going to get an injury or two. It's not going to eliminate injuries. You still had Jimmy Garoppolo get injured. You're still going to have little nagging injuries with different players because they decided to do different things, because there is a human element. Don't eliminate the human element in sports. We're getting closer and closer people removing the human element. It's starting with a little bit with replay, but it does add strategy into the game with basketball, with the NFL, being able to review different plays because the refs miss some things. It doesn't really slow down the game because honestly, refs look at those plays for 20 minutes and I'm like, I see the play. Like, I don't know why it takes forever. So to recap, the home play rule, don't change it. It's perfect the way it is. Just because one injury stops, one guy from being able to play doesn't mean you should change the entire sport. Doesn't mean you should change everything. Don't overreact. The NFL rule I don't think it was that much of an overreaction. It's just pass interference. It's going to make the quality of the game better, and people are going to adjust. And it doesn't really remove that much of the human element out of the game, even though I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I'm not 100% for the pass interference rule, but it does go a little bit too far, I believe. But there are positives and negatives. Don't overcomplicate things. And let's move on to the next segment because I feel like I'm going in circles. With stadiums, especially in the MLB, even in the NFL, all of a sudden they just get destroyed. And it's just like, wait, what are you doing? Why did you move on from there? The Minnesota Twins all of a sudden randomly destroyed their stadium. The Atlanta Braves that one year, they just opened up a new stadium, didn't they? The Miami Marlins, after not too long, they destroyed their stadium. The Tampa Bay Rays are looking to move from their current stadium. And there's one more team that I'm missing that I will get eventually. But there are teams that just move on from their stadium. It's just like, wait, why'd you do that? So the other day, I was really curious to find out why Globe Life Fields or Globe Life Park or Arlington Stadium or whatever you want to call it, where the Texas Rangers play now, why are they moving to a new stadium? Their new stadium is a little more than 0.5% complete now. They're set to open up in 2020. But why are they closing their stadium down? Isn't it just like a new stadium? Wasn't it great? Well, there were a lot of problems with it. So it all starts in 1972-ish when the Washington Senators, not like the actual Senators, there was actually a team, it was actually pretty neat, called the Washington Senators. They decided to move to Texas. They decided, you know what, we're going to pack up our bags and move and let's build a completely new stadium. I think it was renovated from like a minor league park. Anyway, they spent millions of dollars and they built this new stadium. It was all great. And then 27 years later, 24 years later, they end up destroying it. And in the offseason, they built a whole new stadium worth $191 million. And this stadium was met with some opposition. It wasn't like 100% of the fans supported it. It's around 65% of the people on the ballot box approved it to begin with. And there was a lot of questions about this. There were a lot of questions about whether it would work, whether it's too much money. There are 50,000 seats in this new stadium, and it wasn't too popular to begin with, but they did it. And they had 24/7, whatever how many years success in this field, and all of a sudden now it's being destroyed. What I was surprised to find out that this stadium is actually the 11th oldest stadium currently in the league, which was a surprise to me because it doesn't feel like there are that many new stadiums, quote unquote. But now that you think of it, there are a lot of new stadiums in this league. And what was so wrong about the old stadium? Why did they move from it? So first of all, the sun and the weather. So it was positioned in a way so that the sun hits you in the face, like AT&T Stadium, where the sun sets and it's in the opposing quarterback's face. I don't know why they built it like that. I don't know what it is with Dallas and Arlington, but they're bad at building stadiums. So the sun always hit you in the face at a certain time of day, and it was just torture for the fans at some point. Plus, there are 50,000 seats, and they rarely ever sold out. Just think about the Yankees, who have around 47,000 seats. They sell out because they're the New York Yankees. The Texas Rangers weren't selling out, and it was kind of an albatross thing. And there were seats being obstructed. It would rain all the time. And the new stadium kind of solves all of that. The new stadium has a retractable roof. It has brand new turf. The seats are closer, which they're going to have to solve with like the netting and things like that. They need to figure it out. But they can retrofit the stadium to netting so it makes more sense. It makes more sense than what the current stadiums have. So it will look beautiful in that remark. It's not going to be some weird netting like certain current stadiums have. It's going to be positioned in a different way so that, the sun doesn't hit you in the face, and it's going to have a retractable roof, so it doesn't get rained on. That's going to allow them to put that new turf, and it's going to be a great stadium. So what's happening to the old stadium? Are they just tearing it down and building new parking spots? No, actually, they're keeping that stadium, and it's going to be used for the Dallas's new XFL team, which is really a good sign for the XFL, how, they're confident that the XFL is going to work, so that's why they're putting this team in this park. They're also looking to rent it out to other people, like colleges, high schools, some minor league games, some concerts, and it's going to be a whole part of this Texas Live initiative where everyone's going to come to the stadium, and it's part of this new initiative that a lot of stadiums have been doing. Like, it's not just the baseball game, it's different things like that. MLB is having the trouble just attracting people to the baseball game. If you can have like a little fair, a little carnival, some events, using stadiums for different purposes, and especially they'll help the taxpayers, make them more confident in funding this place because it's a more long-term solution. They usually use this half-cent tax thing where it gradually just accumulate money, but a lot of investors are putting money into the stadium. It's not just the fans this time that are funding it. And I think it has a lot of backing, and I think it's going to be really successful. Now, what's a success for this stadium? What would be a success? Oh, it not closing down after 25 years. If this stadium can hold up, for 50, 60 years and be pretty much a part of this culture, it would be great. Now, the old stadium had a little bit of culture to it, but you had to say goodbye to it. You can't double down on a dumb decision, and they knew that. You can't shut it down after 10 years, but you can't keep on having this stadium, and it's seen better days. You have that nice hill in center field with the girls who run across it when, there's a ball there. You have some things in the field that kind of represent, the culture of the Rangers, kind of the whole Texas feel and different things like that. And the new stadium is going to have all that, and it's going to be better. It's going to have fewer seats, 8,500 fewer seats, but they're going to sell out more. It's going to be a better experience for everybody, and hopefully they start winning because this year they're actually playing really well. So, not really well. They're playing better than what people thought they would, and I thought they would too. People thought I was stupid for my Texas Rangers pick last year. It turns out it was a year too early on them, but that's not the point of this video. The new stadium is going to be great. It's going to have so many new features. The old stadium kind of had some Camden Yard feel, some, old New York Yankees feel, some Comerica Park memorabilia thing that I don't remember, but I'm going to put up on the screen so it looks like I knew what I was saying when I was talking about this right now. It looks like I'm smart. But yeah, so the new Globe Life Field, it's going to be great. They're going to have to figure out some parking issues and some nitty-gritty things, but overall, I think this is a great decision for the Texas Rangers. You're going to have fans now that are going to grow up, see this beautiful stadium, and not have memories of, the stadium that every single time they went to, it was sunny, it rained during this same time of year. It was a good experience, and baseball is all about fan experience and kind of involving the community, and that's what I feel like baseball wants to move more towards. And if you can make more money with it too, that's great, and that's the business decision that you have to make. Yeah, definitely know if you live around the stadium, did you have bad memories here? What was it like? I never went to the stadium, but was it bad? Did you need to redo it? Because, again, I've never been here before. I don't know what it was like. All right, congratulations. You made it to the end of this episode of BnA Sports Podcast. This is the segment where I kind of thank you guys for everything. So let's start with that one. I like to thank you guys for watching. It's still not over yet. I still have a topic I'm going to discuss. But again, if you like this sort of content, be sure to share it to your friends wherever you share things and wherever you like it. This episode is out a little bit late because I've been kind of lacking a little motivation to record and different things like that. But we're almost in like the peak MLB. We're in the peak MLB. We're almost starting the NFL and different things like that. And I haven't really been getting a lot of views with these videos. I'm pretty well aware, but yeah, I just like doing them, so I'm going to continue doing them. I may quit eventually, or this may be successful. I don't know. But definitely do share. We've been steadily growing, a little more recently, but that doesn't really matter because as long as I'm having fun doing it, I'm gonna keep uploading. So the last topic I want to discuss today is I already forgot about it. See, that's why I should discuss first because I usually have like a topic on my mind. No, it was about the NFL, whether they should switch to 18 games or not. Honestly, no, they shouldn't switch to 18 games with that. I know you could say it's implementing strategy with different things, but that's the dumbest thing I've heard. 18 games, and then kind of, switching, you can't play certain position players for 2 games. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That hasn't been done ever. I don't think it'd work. There's reasons why it hasn't been done before. That's because it's not going to be successful. And if anything, they should switch to 17 games with an extra bye, or 18 games with an extra bye. Other than that, I don't see anything. I don't think they should expand. If anything, just have fewer preseason games. And I don't even think you should have fewer preseason games. Just kind of have your backups kind of play just to see who's going to make the team and different things like that. That's the reason why they play those games. You're not going to really have a good idea of just by 2 games how a player is going to play. I think 4 games, maybe shorten it to 3, but definitely not 2. That's how I would change things. The NFL is usually progressive when it comes to rule changes, and I think this is a little bit too much. The new CBA is coming up. The main things I think they should tackle are the franchise tag thing. Maybe have the franchise tag like a 2-year deal instead of like a 1-year. So the players are a little bit happy and you're still kind of controlled. Different things like that. As far as the offensive penalty rules, that will be addressed at the new CBA. They're going to have it this year, so that should be a productive conversation. As far as running backs, I think that the running backs are going to have a really focal point in this, saying we're kind of underpaid. The teams are just going to get rid of us, kind of like the franchise tag. I think that's going to be the main message, as well as the marijuana things, whether players should be legalized in marijuana. And I think that the NFL will do it once it's legal everywhere else. But for now, I think the rules are going to stay the rules, and they're obviously going to address the different kind of penalties and inconsistencies. I think those are the main issues of the NFL. With injuries and things like that, I just realized this with the NFL, they have to pay for those injuries. So the more that they make it safe, the better it is for the NFL. So they're not trying to make it an overly violent sport. Just keep that in mind when it comes to all these things. And yeah, so that's generally my beliefs about that. Oh shit, I forgot to guess the length of the video. Now it's pretty much towards the end. If I had to guess the exact length of it, probably 1:14:52 at this point right now. If it's close, hey, I think I got within a minute one time, but we'll see. Again, thank you guys for watching this episode of BnA Sports Podcast. New episode is going to be out in 2 weeks. I may transition to another type of series. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to try to reach 10 before I stop or halt this. So 2 more episodes left, and that'll be in a month would be the last episode. But hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in my next regular video, because it's probably going to come out tomorrow, because I haven't uploaded in a couple days. Okay, bye guys.